The Street Brawl intermission is over, but the rest of the shift is still yet to begin. ZP here with Jake, and Jake, now we get a chance to watch what NA has in store. Are they going to be playing Rem, and how are they going to be playing it? A lot to uncover here. Also, with a new team on the block and no earnings.
We'll see if that changes today, if they win some of the cash. Of course, it's a pretty tough ask going up against Bunny with Clock, who've been a solid mainstay, really holding down that #2 spot in North America. And of course, the Melee Creeps, now resident champions here at Night Shift. They've been winning more than 10 weeks in a row, really building a streak and building a name for themselves. So it's definitely going to be a good one, ZP. We've got, of course, our challenger match into the money match. A lot of great NA Deadlock coming right at you.
Of course, if you're new to Night Shift and wondering what in the world is going on, well, we take the best teams in each region. We start off with our challenging match, and whoever wins the challenging match goes on to play the champion of last week. And in North America, it has been Melee Creeps all the way for months now. It has been a lot of Floormen versus Bunny with Clock, but Floormen, this may surprise people, Jake. It's never happened with this core of players, but they had roster changes this week, as it turns out.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they can come back stronger. Maybe bring a different look, of course. Definitely always a curious one. But I also think this is just the reality of Deadlock right now. It's so hard to compete with the established top teams. I mean, they've really built not just their own individual skill level, but the experience to play as a team, the chemistry, and with players as strong as are on the championship teams in each region, it's not easy to unseat them. But that's kind of the exciting thing about this era of Deadlock, right? It's just to see how high those best teams can climb. What can they show us? How can they teach us about the game? I think so many people are probably tuning in tonight just to see what Deadlock Esports looks like what some of the best teams look like. And we're going to get we already had a showcase of that in Abraham's, and now, of course, Melee Creeps likely to match up against Bunny with Clock. Those would be the expected outcomes of our challenger match. But of course, we got to see who ends up making it there.
That's right. And of course, we couldn't do this without the help and support of our patrons. It means a lot to have you aboard the shift here, looking for new ways to, support the community and give back. Where, by the way, I think we actually owe you guys a bonus graveyard shift this week, because we were trying to get people in for the patch, and then the patch hit and no one was available when I was going around for it. So we have not one for this week, but also we're going to fit in a bonus one there too. And as it is, Jake, we had some movement here. Affix was one of our first executives, and they got promoted to board member just a little bit ago.
Yeah, huge appreciation to our patrons. Obviously, the board members doing nasty work here to keep the show running, allow us to be able to put on these epic events every single Wednesday night. We're here with that Deadlock Esports action. So it's a community show here. We're only able to do this because of the grassroots support, and the patrons are a massive part of that. So really appreciate them. We gotta start theming our patrons now with of course the patrons in the game. We gotta get like the Archmother executives and the Hidden King executives.
That's true. You just get both of them in there. I do wonder at any point, I mean, probably not, but I ever wonder if you'll get extra patrons added into the game where it's like, hey, you have a Hidden King versus Archmother, but now you can sometimes get a third patron or a fourth patron far into the future. But, cool things that are theoretically possible.
That's a fun idea. I know in Dota we have skins of the Ancient and all sorts of wild stuff, at least sort of. There's like different customization. And I feel like that's one of those things that it's almost dizzying to think about the level of options there are for customization in Deadlock when you think about a potential launch for the game, and whether it's skins or custom assets. There's just so much going on in Deadlock. It's really a bonanza for Valve, and I'm sure it's something they're all thinking about, but of course focused on just executing, getting the game as good as it can be. And on that level, it's a great moment for Deadlock, right? We have a huge patch hitting, and we're just 1 out of 6 of the new heroes dropped. Really excited to see how the game evolves over these next few weeks, and especially how to see what the top teams here on the Night Shift show us, and how they can teach us a little bit more about the game.
Yep, and for those wondering, hey, how's NA been going on? What's the history of NA? We saw it in EU where Abraham's has been the top dog. Well, for NA, different teams, but somewhat of a similar story over the last few months. It has been Melee Creeps on top of the heap, and a lot of these teams have been the same team, just with roster changes, where Hydro Nation, of course, used to be the #1. They turned into Sneaky Golem, which turned into Floormen. And then they went through periods of readjusting, and the new kid on the block, Jake, was Bunny with Clock, which, kind of firmly set us into our trifecta of good NA teams.
Yeah, and they've been putting up a show. I will say I'm curious to see how they do tonight, if they're able to show a better look. I mean, what's crazy about the Melee Creeps is they seem to continue to improve. I mean, it's hard typically to stay on top and to build these big streaks, but Melee Creeps have proven real staying power, and it took them a while to get there. As you look back in the Night Shift history now, around that, whatever, I'm thinking like from 9 to 12, there's a lot of of blood, sweat, and tears really from the melee creeps, as showing up, not able to get good results for a few weeks there in the tournament, and then eventually able to overcome. So I feel like I never want to write off any of these teams, even Bunny with Clock. Like, they are that team that could very well be next up. However, melee creeps, man, when they lock in, they just put on a show for us. They put on some very dominant wins so far.
You know, we might have the Spider-Man meme coming up next week, though. Is that so? Floormen in their new roster shuffle, they have Rocker and Goober rejoin the team, and Hydration is off. But Hydration is remaking Hydronation with the name Hydronation. So there's a world where the Challenging match next week could very well be Hydronation versus Floormen. And, you know, some people are going to look at that and go like, what do you mean? These are the same team. Not anymore.
Hydronation is a great team name. I would have been sad if we just lost it. As much as I do love the Floorman, Hydronation now has like legacy in Deadlock, and you know, I think it would be exciting to see some of those players back in the mix. And maybe this is the type of update, right? We get all these new heroes. There's been so much more interest and excitement. So many people playing Deadlock. I even heard from a ton of friends in the gaming community, like they're like, I don't play this game. I don't know what is going on, and it's just all over my timeline on social media. You can't get away from it. So hopefully, with that influx of interest, we see, hey, maybe there's more competitive teams forming, more players rising to the top and trying to compete, to, you know, throwing their hat in the ring.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the new hero. We've seen Saints take on it in EU. We've heard rumblings of what some of the players in NA are doing, but there's someone known in the community, the prolific coach of buff enjoyers when they're on top of EU, and the man who I think many people rely on for the best guides in Deadlock. He's got some thoughts on Rem, Jake, and I'm going to drag him up here right here and now. Lightbringer, welcome to the show. I just gave you the grand intro, and okay, I see you're the Rem whisperer right now. Tell us what people aren't doing on Rem and what people should be doing.
Well, they're not doing anything. No, I'm just kidding. They're everyone's going to approach this character like it's a support first and foremost, right? This character is a thieving little gremlin, okay? That should be your primary job. I'm getting like clips from people in my DMs, like they're trying to min-max their time until like, this is a 40-second tunnel time. I was like, dude, I don't care. Unless there's a Calico in the game, who else is taking the tunnel from you, right? You have the capacity to throw something away that can just grab stuff from the enemy and take it to you with no opportunity cost. You should be prioritizing that in every single game that you're playing. The other one is your tag along in lane and just ganking in general. I think this character is a great ganker, and you're a great health trader. So in early lane especially, you're worried about, you know, your health versus the enemy and like how much you're trading back and forth. I'm not seeing people interact with their gun at all. Like, I mean, the gun's a little bit slow, but I mean, you can heal for like 300 plus with just one, like, sorry, what is it? 2 helpers and 1 tag along. With the ally, so you can get a big heal. Like, you can trade like literally like half your health bar, and then just heal it up. And they actually can't do anything about it because it full heals the troopers as well when you go do that. But I'm not seeing, like, you need to be aggressive on this character, like actually aggressive early, and you need to steal stuff first. Don't, like, okay, if you're going and doing your sinners, and on your side of the map, like, all you're doing is stealing from your carry. They can do that. You know, you should be the one trying to take their sinners. You know, that's your job.
Yeah, it's something I haven't seen people doing, but like when I was looking at this character, I'm like, you should just be waiting in the enemy doubles at 8 minutes and like immediately taking both of them. And like, if the enemy's not really on the ball, like, those resources are just gone, right? They have what, 20, 30 seconds to react to that. It's pretty scary in terms of like the macro play of the game. And I also think late game, I feel like there's a lot of spots where there's a ton of sinners up on the map late game, and people are just too busy team fighting over key objectives to really clean them all. So, you know, the macro advantage from that is very real. I think you make a great point. It's like, those are the aspects of the character that, since it's more about the macro play, more about like the overall game strategy, people are still focusing on the execution. How are they just, like, you know, building their items? How are they playing, you know, in terms of just like in one individual fight? But of course, taking that bigger macro perspective on the game, I agree, is like, Rem, there's so much potential for how this character can be really annoying to play against in that like bigger picture economy game.
So, Lightbringer, I need to ask, really on top of this, in EU, we saw Rem win both of the games they're playing, you know, really on day one where the styles are not refined. Do you agree with the assessment that if Rem can win games like that where people are not even using really a lot of the potential there, that the hero actually is perhaps mega broken once people get a little bit more game time on it?
I mean, I think it's kind of a skill gap. That last game, I was tuned in. I actually specifically watched that last game on Rem because I was curious, is this guy doing anything like innovative and interesting? And I don't think I saw him enter the tunnels a single time, and that is an issue. You move like 50% faster, and any movement speed items are, I think, doubled in efficiency. So if you buy enduring speed, it's 4 move speed. Like you gotta like use these for traversing the map, and that's why I think he's a good ganker as well, because you could just be, and you could be anywhere. You just be anywhere. But yeah, if people I think if people get good at this character, it's going to be a little bit problematic for balance. I mean, I'll put it to you like this: do we want a Page V2? I remember everyone said Page sucks, Page sucks, Page sucks. They changed like half a second cooldown or something, or like they give like 0.5 radius on her 3. Oh, Page OP, Page is OP, guys. I mean, she got a little bit more than that too, but I mean, I'm downplaying it a little bit. But she was good on release. She was not bad at all.
I mean, it's an archetype right now that, I mean, in fairness, like historically, it's kind of been the most imbalanced archetype, right? Because the only supports in the game are Kelvin and Paige. Realistically, I mean, there's sort of other characters, like you can build like a sort of an IV support, but it's not really the heavy focus of what you're doing. The way like Kelvin for a long time, it was like you really are just there to heal. I mean, you can do some nice aggressive things in the lane and slow people down and set up fights, but it's really about these big team fight moments, about healing and supporting everybody and enabling your especially your frontliners, anyone who wants to be really aggressive, to be a little bit more unchecked in terms of what they can do. So I think if you think about the history of it, it's like Kelvin was super broken, now has been nerfed and is not nearly that anymore. Paige has kind of taken that throne, and maybe Rem as well. So support is maybe a challenging archetype to balance, because I think especially in it scales with the skill of the team, right? Whereas in a pub play, I feel like Rem, I don't really think Rem is going to be that good, frankly.
Yeah, he's not a
dominating pubs.
Sure. He's going to suffer there for sure. I mean, I'm sure you can find a way to carry pubs with him, but he's going to shine when you're playing with your 6 stack and you have like, you Q Abrams and you Q Shiv and I'll Q Rem, and you're just getting this missing health heal, and you buy Echo Shard for tag along, so you're getting this massive heal every single fight, and you're just invincible. Your whole team will just feel invincible. In a pub environment, it's like you want to win. You kind of just buy a glass cannon and hope you can shoot everyone to death.
All right, so we got to move along, and this is, by the way, thank you so much, Lightbright, for coming on to give us the REM report, where if you want to stand for draft, you absolutely can, but we do have to talk about the teams coming into play, and let's start with the challenging team, a team that we haven't seen here on the night shift. No earnings, and, Jake, I just look at the name, it reminds me of the old OW team. You guys get paid. Like, I've gone back in time a little bit.
Yeah, right. I mean, I will say I recognize quite a few of these names from Eternus pubs, so I'm excited to see what they're able to do. I always feel like when new teams show up here on the night shift, it's always exciting because there's usually, even if the team itself isn't that dominant on day one, it's like there's always, those new names now percolating in the scene, showing what they can do in a competitive match, right? Get out of the, ranked and random queue format and into like a proper draft and a proper match against other strong teams, and just show what you can really do. And I think that's going to be exciting to see some new players, new faces here on the night shift. If I'm not mistaken, I think Strider must have played before, unless.
We saw Strider, Brayden, and Blur during the Trolley tournament in NA. That's where we saw some of these players was during NA Trolley. But it's kind of the up and coming next generation. But they're up against the team that they're more veterans now. With Bunny with Clock, the team that Poshy Pop helped form, was the team captain, left to join the new iteration of Flurman. And take a quick look at Bunny with Clock before we get into our 1v1 pillow fight. But I look at this roster, people have really made a name for themselves, whether it be Matt going back to his days where Matt was one of the most shut down holidays in the game, to Aiden just making a reputation as a Vindicta that at times teams have gone out of the way the band way earlier than they would otherwise like, because Aiden is just so good at the character. We've really come to learn the personality of some of these players and their preferences over the last 2 months or so, Jake, as they've been one of the best teams in NA.
Yeah, Aiden in particular, I think, has kind of rocketed to the top of the standings as far as like the carry role. I think he's really, really top player for the squad. But it's not just him, right? Across the board, you have the flexibility from players like Gibbs and Matt to play a lot of these highly mobile options and bring that edge as far as the draft goes. And then, Tanner, almost always going to be playing like these heavy frontliners, Cool Cheese on a ganker, and then Arctic, also that heavy flexibility, can play like a secondary carry behind Aiden, but can also bring out the Shiv and look really solid as like another brawling frontliner. So I think this team, it's like the roster has really figured out what their roles are and exactly how they want to approach the draft and how they want to build these team comps, and it's looked really good for them. They've still yet to, I believe, win that championship here in the night shift, but I think the moment Melee Creep steps off the gas, like this is a team that is absolutely waiting, is hungry, and that is really trying to earn that win.
Well, we got tradition here on the night shift, and normally it's a Mo 1v1, but you know, we're going for a little bit of something softer here, Jake. We got the Rem pillow fight in celebration of our new hero. You know, Lightbringer, we just gave you the Rem icon here as we spectate what could be. You guys are
making these guys
glory.
fight each other? What's wrong with you? They're so cute.
Wait, the melees are so funny looking because they're like the same size melee as normal, but they're so little.
You know this character, I think he has negative melee resist as well. He's getting fried by melee.
Oh, it's over, man. Blur down. Destruction there by Bunny with Clock. The dominant Rem.
Dominated.
We should just always do this. Have the new heroes be our melee 1v1ers. I mean, I believe our melee, I guess you're right. There's like melee resist stats can be different on different characters, but the size of the melee, is that the same on every character? It feels like it is, but
it might be. It feels like it's the same.
The
size of the melee
hitbox and or like even
they're all the
distance
same
from
they're all
heavy melee. It feels like they're all the same, but it's one of those games where I wouldn't be shocked if there's some like micro differences, like some hero scales the melee range or something, because that would be classic Valve.
No surprise with Mina ban.
Mina is getting broken, I think, right now. Although I will say this ends, I believe, ends the legacy of NA teams perma first banning Doorman, right? So I think Doorman, especially as we see more and more new heroes come in, I think we're gonna actually see Doorman maybe come back into the fold. I mean, no longer being able to do the earn shenanigans is actually a pretty big deal. However, I think that may be sleeping on the true potential of this character. And a first pick Shiv here for Bunny with Clock. Again, no surprise. This character looks super solid right now. Just a great aggressive frontlaner, can play high econ, can play a little bit lower econ, and still be super effective. So with Billy and Mina out, super happy to grab the shift.
Yeah, and you know Abrams comes in right after, and this is kind of the interesting thing where there's some in the community where we still have to go over it after all the 6 heroes are out, but you know there's kind of a push in the community of, hey, we need to add more bans to the game. It's like, well, you definitely can't add them at the front of the draft because you're not going to be playing a Deadlock with frontliners anymore the way teams have been drafting, because it is a full run on the front line. But the one thing we see here repeated in NA is that the Paige priority has gone up week after week, where Paige, people have just realized she's really good when it comes to support. Maybe not as overbearing as Kelvin was in his perma first ban, first pick phase, but people just realize how good she is in lane. And, you know, I kind of want to bring the question to you, Lightbringers. You know, some people have floated the idea, you know, that, hey, Rem is a Paige replacement. You don't necessarily see it that way right now, though, right?
No, I mean, I think the main, like, the closest thing I'd say is, like, I mean, Paige has a lot of CC. People are always complaining about barriers. It's her 3. Her 3 is one of the most annoying things to deal with in a fight. And her ult as well is like, is it better? It's probably better in mid boss, honestly, because it's just hitting everything. Nap time seems like a little bit more finicky. I haven't seen any really crazy plays with it, but I don't think it's a replacement though. No, absolutely not. She has way better wave clear and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's true. I think Paige can just play a little bit further back from the fight and still be super effective, and has probably bigger rewards, right? Bigger follow-ups on the combos. Rem is, I think, a little bit... I mean, Rem has this weird eco advantage, right? Where it's doing something that is sort of hard to understand the impact of, like, what it is to steal centers and distribute it to your team, or to be buffing side waves and having them, like, push even though you're in the fight. Things that kind of no other character can do, but it's the impact, I think, isn't as dominant and as obvious as Paige just having like a super sick combo follow-up for a knockdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, the other trend that's really been interesting, where I feel like we've gone through the cycle many times, is that Paradox, after you know, some of the recent changes a while back, the playmakers started getting picked later in the draft. Like, we were seeing Paradox legitimately getting picked 5th or 6th overall for a team. And Paradox just continually goes back up there, and people are like, wait, no, actually, Paradox is a really good hero. We actually should pick it earlier on in the draft. And we're back up to Paradox suddenly being like, oh yeah, getting Paradox top 3, that makes a lot of sense.
See with Bunny with Clock, if they're going to go for their core here, well, they grab a Mirage for now. I wonder if they'll grab the Viscous, if we won't see Gun Viscous still look good. I'm actually a little surprised that No Earnings go with the Warden as opposed to the Gun Viscous, where, at least for me right now, I think the Gun Viscous is a little bit more potent on the carry roll with just how hard he is to catch. And Bunny with Clock, I think they're going to be quite happy to grab the Viscous, because not only does this give you like a really strong late game gun carry, but also he's still a great laner, right? He's still like almost a support in the lane in terms of the ability to have like an early strong start to the game, one that sets you up for success and kind of sets your team on the right path.
I got you.
Ooh. Infernus, okay.
I like Infernus. This character isn't bad. People are definitely
underrated.
sleeping on this hero for sure. Like he is such a good, like, I don't know, discouraging. He's anti-frontliner. I mean, think about it. He's just putting stuff all over the floor. He's burning you. And I mean, I don't know why he fell out of favor. I mean, yeah, you have to shoot him a little bit more, I guess. But I mean, he still does his job just fine.
I can tell you why he fell out of favor. It was the overreaction. Deadlock players, I mean, Dota players kind of did this too, from what I understand, but the nerf came in where you couldn't insta restack his afterburn with just one hit. But a lot of the time, that doesn't impact a lot of the situations he was good at. And the only player in competitive across NA and EU that said, no, I still like Infernus, and clearly has still won because they haven't lost, is DMB on the Infernus. Melee creeps makes Infernus look good all the time, and the rest of the game is just like, no, we don't want to play that anymore. And I agree with you, Lightbringer, it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah,
he's still a good team fighter, and I agree. I think that the spirit damage reduction on the burn is actually huge against Yamato and Shiv, in particular in this game. Like, he's one of the few characters that, after the Yamato ultis or while Shiv is like going in aggro, it feels like Infernus is one of the few carries that doesn't completely just turn and run, right? They can actually, hey, stay there, get a new ignite on the Yamato after her ulti, take some of that damage off, and play to kite her. Where at those frontliners, it's like, if you don't actually kill the Infernus, if you're chasing in when Infernus is just keeping you burned and keeping you debuffed throughout the whole fight, it's like, you kind of a clock on the fight. You can't kill Infernus 5-10 seconds in, and you're going to just burn to death.
So Lightbringer, we're getting into games, so I just gotta say, before we let you go, it's been a pleasure having you on for this quick little guest segment and tutorial on Rem. But if people want to follow you and get more of that insight, where can they check you out?
Before that, I got one more tip for Rem. Your one pillow hits work on non-heroes. You can shoot creep camps and troopers. That's just another tip that I didn't include in the beginning. That's a really important thing. But my Twitch handle is Lightbringer_DL. That's where you can find me at. I stream from time to time, pretty rarely, but yeah, I do stream sometimes.
All right, Lightbringer, thank you so much. And Jake, we're getting into it. No earnings. Their debut here on the night shift. Do they have what it takes to take down Bunny with Clock? We're about to find out. Bunny with Clock, though, you look at the two drafts, to me, I'm definitely liking the Bunny with Clock draft a little bit more. I think the bases are way, way more covered, but, we'll see where this one goes. Also,
I really like the Lash right now, I believe, unless we get the draft backwards, I believe we have our names flipped here. And I will say one thing I just quite like is the Lash. I feel like the team fight addition and strength it gives you is, I just saw it was Arctic on the Mirage, so it is going to be Bunny with Clock here on your Hidden King team. But I really like the impact of Lash in the team fights right now, because it just feels like there's not much you can do about him when he's just like chaining nuke after nuke after nuke in the team fight, and his DPS feels actually so high if you're not able to like catch and lock him down. And the top Lash players right now, it just feels like so incredibly hard to shut them down, to actually catch them and get on top of them once they get a couple defensive items and a superior stam online.
Yeah, Lash has landed in a good spot after he wasn't really in the meta quite as much for a while. People realize, actually pretty good. Also, you don't even see people grab Counterspell as often versus him nowadays. People at times, at least at Pro Play, will be like, no, I don't actually want to pay the tax to deal with it. I'll just, get out of Death Slam the old-fashioned way. But, looking at the other lanes here, going to mid for Bunny with Clock, they're running up with the Yamato Holiday, and that's a classic, just really high burst damage comp in middle. And yeah, you got Ward and Paradox on the other side, but between the two, I actually give that one the Yamato Holiday if played well.
Yeah, and even this Paige Abrams lane, like in theory, this lane is pretty tanky and pretty hard to deal with. As a whole, as I say, that's a great pin, good connection there onto Arctic. And now Abrams healthy, getting that barrier, pushing in there, taking these Mirage debuffs and some daggers from Shiv. And the movement's going to be good enough to get Tanner and Arctic out of there, but this is a lane that you really want to be quite dominant for Abrams and Paige, right? To be able to catch and find some kills, especially on, two really ideal heroes to shut down early. Like, Mirage and Shiv are both heroes that want to start off a snowball. For Mirage, is a little more of a farming perspective, where Shiv can actually really get active in the mid game with that ult and online, as long as his game's pretty solid. Curious to see if we'll have any rotations in from mid, as it looks like Holiday's kind of leading this way.
Yeah, Cool Cheese may be on the way over, and right in time, just as Abrams hits the pin. Here comes Cool Cheese, so 3-on-2 here on the right, and a quick retreat here from Blur. Definitely doesn't want any of that in the beginning, but you know, you talk about a lane that can usually get out of some of these attempts. It probably would be Abrams Page. You have the charge, which you can use for defense if it's still up, and the barriers, so it's not the easiest lane to come in for, at least prior to Ultimates being online.
Yeah, I feel like Holiday and Lash, they really do give you an edge in the early game, but just the ability to get from the side lanes to the mid and vice versa, and you know, just show up and interrupt some of these setups when you think you have a good fight going. It's going to be hard. I think the rotations are going to be a little bit less forthcoming from No Earnings, but if they can just hold things down stable and just survive these ganks, I mean, there is always a cost to a gank in terms of the economy. Well, you're getting great catch on the pin, but unfortunately, it's just Mirage. Arctic, instant tornado out.
You look at it, it's like, we got him, and Mirage tornadoes away. I mean, I think that's also why when Mirage is good, it's just one of the more solid characters in the game. Is that, you know, when you think about what you want of a character you want to get farm, ideally you want a character that isn't all that easy to take out with a gank. I think it's actually one of the weak parts about Warden. Warden is, you know, pretty gankable, but trying to pin down a Mirage, a Wraith at times, or an Infernus, you know, easier said than done, even when you come equipped with things like Slowing Hex.
Yeah, and in this lane, I feel like you can kind of disrespect Abrams the way not many characters can, just because of Tornado's ability to get him out of sticky situations. So it's a little bit scary as far as trying to get aggressive here in the side lane. But yeah, looks like there's some activity in the mid lane. And Yamato's super low here, getting just, heavy punch from Braden, parry miss from Matt. Is the trap gonna proc? Not quite. Holiday just barely gets out from it. And Braden putting a lot of pressure on the mid lane. Lash, hey, coming in to feed, I guess. You come in and roam, come to my lane. Braden locks him up here, finds a couple of key kills, and talk about a snowball hero. I mean, Warden wants to farm for quite a while, right? Hit some of those later power spikes, but these early kills, they get you moving on some of those farming items and kind of start you on that journey. Arctic as well, straight up to the mid lane, so full party lane here in mid. But New Clock really don't want to back down as far as pressuring this mid lane.
Full rotation. Lash isn't getting quite joined, and it may end up being a bit of a lane swap where perhaps Gibbs goes and grabs Vitality. But I wonder if Gibbs now perma swaps to left.
It's a great buff to find on Infernus in particular. I think you already have so much damage, and you just now can kind of trade with impunity with that Vitality buff. So Aiden's going to be under some pressure in the side lane for a while now, but he's managed to farm up very well. I mean, Aiden definitely going to be the carry in this game. Gun Viscous already 5k souls. They're giving him a lot of solo souls, letting Lash roam and grab boxes. Gibbs just playing very low eco. And so as far as the feeding souls to one player goes, it's definitely Bunny with Clock who are getting a little bit better out of the side lane.
In terms of your economy allocation, you're definitely happy where things are at. Charge, though, in onto Mirage. Mirage immediately going to tornado back, so just a trade out of damage here is Shiv in the Chaos getting a few knives in as No Earnings, I think, loses a bit on the poke war there, and you know, it's going to be expressed perhaps in a little bit of Guardian damage.
Spirit damage for Shiv, and yeah, real trouble here for Paradox. Should be just cut down. Tanner has to use the ulti, though. I think that's maybe a little bit more than you would have loved to expend, but they just worried about the possible interrupt there from Page or Abrams. Just secure that kill. Take one home to the bank. And Arctic's kind of reaching this point of Mirage where it's getting a little hard to stay in the lane, right? Every time you peek, he's debuffing you. Has that second point in his passive. Shiv, though, hold on. Captivating read under the tower. Paradox is back into this lane, coming in for the roam. You're trying desperately to catch Tornado. Beautiful Tornado as well from Arctic to dodge the rallying charge. And I think Tanner's out of this too. So rotation from No Earnings. Not finding the kills yet.
That was a little bit of Ultra Instinct for Arctic there. He was using the Tornado no matter what, right as the Page ult comes on through. But hey, you take what you can get there. It does make Mirage all the more slippery when you get bonuses like that. However, Tornado's still on cooldown. Captivating read in. Pressure in from 3, so not the easiest spot for Arctic to be in here. Already brought down to half as No Earnings. Just looking to get pressure on this Guardian or take it down outright. See if there's any other rotations that come on in. For now, going to be forced back, wait for the creep wave to catch up as, you know, the right lane looking very active. Charge, though, still up for Blur. Working his way in, looking for a target. Knows Tornado is back up now, though, for Arctic.
Yeah, he really wants to get a dive off. Still has this gun buff for a few more seconds. Holiday, though, coming in from behind. Should be able to interrupt this tower dive. Goes on the Paradox. Not able to find the skill connections. But Abrams now not getting the support he would have expected on that dive because of the Holiday rotation. maybe Blur able to play his way out of this one. Shiv has the mobility to chase, but Blur just regenning up, man. Abrams, so sustainable, gets the extra barrier as well. Heavy melee, even connects onto Cool Cheese. He's gambling it, but Tanner finally shuts him down.
You know, that's a funny part in fights like that where you know that you're going to die without taking a risk. Even if you get parried, it may be worth it to go for the melee in situations like that, because the worst case that happens is you die when you're already going to die. But maybe if the other side, for whatever reason, doesn't execute in the parry, you get the miracle. So you can get a little bit of extra damage there for Blur in a situation where you're absolutely going to die no matter what.
Tanner getting very close to that Spirit Spike. Could become a real annoyance, able to just show up into some of these fights, pop everything on one player, get a quick execute, and kind of go back to the farm game. So Tanner is definitely investing in his ability to deal damage early. They want to keep pushing the tempo. Great lasso onto the Paradox. She was trying to be tricky, but Holiday dragged under the tower, and G-Freak cut down. That's a nice kill, fed towards Matt on the Yamato.
Yeah, and you look at how Cool Cheese is building. It is really just full on prioritize getting kills early on. I mean, you still max barrel early on as Holiday, generally speaking, but the early slowing hex is something that Holidays were not always building, but now realize, well, no, if you're on a hero where a movement ability is going to ruin your initiation, yeah, open up with the slowing hex to make the lasso something that's going to hit, because there's nothing that hurts more as a Holiday player than the tempo going to the wayside. But Ivy trying to get a piece of Shiv here. Tanner getting the back up here from Cold Cheese into the Amato, able to find Hypno, and yeah,
Shiv on the 3 streak there. Getting exactly what he wants. Finally going to get onto the Spirit Spike. Arctic took a ton of pressure in the side lane, though, in the meanwhile. Is being dove. Yeah, Blur is going to be able to finally get that kill. Took the rotation to accomplish it. The Sidewalker goes down on the other side, but uh-oh. Aiden getting active very early. Has the Colt Sack. Has the Bullet Lifesteal, and is just showing up now. Really turning into a problem. He's at 10k souls. He's not going to wait and hit a later timing. He's going to have his impact right here and right now. And I mean, you might have a healthy Guardian here, but I'd be a little bit worried about that when it comes to the gun Viscous.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before we see Viscous looking permanently happy for the rest of the map, the way that this game is unfolding right now. Because when you look at the economy allocation, right as mid buffs are about to spawn here 10 minutes, so we're going to have our first turn, going to have buffs up. You really, overall, like 11k in the Viscous, yeah, you've fed your Infernus a little bit, but Bunny with Clock, much better overall positioning-wise if Aiden can keep this up and, you know, not get caught off. But early Urn Control going to go the way of Bunny with Clock, and, you know, we talked a lot about last week with the Urn change. Getting Urn Control, period, is a lot more important than it was previously.
Yeah, it's much harder to interrupt when somebody goes for the dunk unless you have really the perfect heroes for it. Jatism forced into a defensive combustion here on the Infernus and is still going to get cut down. Matt with the Torment Pulse for the finish. Arctic, meanwhile, cleans up the Guardian, and this side of the map is just completely dominated by Bunny with Clock. In the mid lane, Paige trying to do what she can, but this Guardian is still very healthy in mid for BWC, and maybe the rotation can change that, but they're kind of coming to try to deal with this Urn. Paradox pushing mid at the same time means less resources to help assist with that Urn control.
They're going deep on the intercept, right by the Walker. I don't think they quite get it. Instead, they get jumped on by Viscous. Aiden going out to protect the Urn carrier, but that was a very aggressive Urn intercept that we saw on the mini-map that No Earnings was trying to go for. And the Urn's still kind of hanging back by the Walker. The problem here, though, is that so long as you're sitting here in the defensive spot, you are giving up a bit of map control at the mercy of the Urn carrier. Bunny with Clock, though, they've fully reestablished, and they're just going for the dunk. Is there going to be an intercept? Holiday up, over, gets it in, and now is there punishment here? Last Stand coming out, the lasso for the interrupt, and Braden, maybe all sorts of dead. Still, charge comes in, a little bit of disruption. Still may work out here for No Earnings, Last Stand or no.
Yeah, the rallying charge, huge there, turns the fight around completely. Aiden, a little bit of a missed puddle punch there, has to Gooball to just get out of the situation, not a winnable fight. Strider making his impact felt there on the page. The impact of that rallying charge, right? Swinging, turning around a fight. Can't be overestimated here, and Gibbs has that Lash ulti online, so you got to be worried now, looking into some of the team fights. I think Gibbs really getting involved would have made a huge difference there, but had to defend mid from the Paradox push, so well played on the macro for No Earnings there. And Jatism stealing some camps there with that rapid recharge. I mean, that's one of the nice things about rapid recharge in Infernus. You can farm actually like a demon on this character, right? Being able to just clear camps with one skill press and just be on to the next one.
Viscous liked the recent changes as far as it goes, given the fact that anyone that had good spirit nuking of creeps was a fan of 30% less HP, 30% more spawn. It gave them more ability to get quick farm on the map. But I think it's worth noting, despite some of this going against no earnings and, giving up the urn just a moment ago, you're still only within 5K aggregate. Like, yeah, you're not loving the fact that Viscus is at 14K right now, but they've made up some distance here. They got Braden up to 13, Jitizim now at 14. Truthfully, anyone's game at this point.
I think the problem that you need to solve, though, as no earnings, is really around this mid lane. I mean, the position is so dominant for Bunny with Clock that you're not even really able to pressure this Guardian at any point. It's just emblematic of how this whole center of the map is really controlled by Bunny with Clock, giving them better rotations. Ivy trying to fly in and catch, I believe that was Kuchi's on the Holiday, but he's just out of there, man. Ivy not even getting vision of his target.
Bunny with Clock looking to seize the opportunity here if they're able to get one. Arctic, though, dies while this is going on. Caught out. So Bunny with Clock down 1. Tanner, though, able to even it out. Finding G-Freak. And 3-man dive into no earning side. And, fight is still taking place here. Got a few people on the roof. Tanner, though, full HP. Doesn't really care too much. Doesn't actually get hit by the charge. Tries to go out with the parry. Doesn't hit it. Gives up a few melees here. The Blur. Blur, hot pursuit. Already gone down the half. Bloodletting or no. And some serious damage in for the Abrams. No earnings that, causes Tanner to think twice.
Yeah, they're going to go for more. Chasing in. Big pin onto 2. Shiv goes down. Holiday just running for the hills. Doesn't have that lasso. The bounce pad is going to make things awkward. Matt now pops the shadow transformation in the small room, trying to fight it out, and maybe getting enough done here. Matt getting the kills from the heal lane, continuing to fight this one. And Holiday.
Camera just random bouncing, and yeah, Holiday. Lasso's been used, and the fight's cooling down a bit.
That's a big save, though, from Matt, being able to come in on the counter engage there into the Warden ulti and yet still find the kills. I think for no earnings, you're just happy that Braden gets out of that one alive on the Warden and gets back to the farming, right? A death, a downtime would be pretty painful here. I will say Jitizim farming up a real storm on Infernus, and he's hard to kill now. Has the 4.8k spike on both Spirit and Vitality. Going to be a really vexing hero to take on in a 1v1, and even in the team fight could be a real problem, right? If you don't deal with the Infernus, what we talked about, he puts that clock on heroes like Shiv and Yamato, reduces their outgoing damage with the burn, and then on top of that is putting down very significant damage.
Also, I think with the Page, I kind of land on the side that I like the no earnings late game a little bit more between the two teams. Now, of course, getting Spirit buff as Shiv is awesome, especially with the build that Tanner's going on here that's just Spirit heavy to begin with. But all in all, if both teams are even in farm, they both have things that scale, but I like no earnings more. Blur is able to find Gibbs. Not quite sure how that happened, but it's a big pickoff as the urn now is able to get picked up by no earnings. So a shift in tempo here between the two teams. Last time around, Bunny with Clock had the pickup, no problem. This time around, no earnings. They get their chance at the dunk, and they get to do it while up 1. They won't get there quite in time before Gibbs is back up with Death Slam, though.
I will say Aiden is already pushing down the right lane here, and they're not really rushing to do this urn. It's kind of hostage it with the Abrams, but you're going to have to drop the urn and make a defense if you want to keep this right lane walker alive. Paradox coming to do just that with the help of Page behind, but this right side of the map is a dominant one for Bunny with Clock. There's a lot of players here. Holiday with a lasso, 1 connection's almost assuredly going to be able to find kills.
Have to play around the wall, though. Actually kind of stymies the lasso. You can't lasso through it. Like, it'll actually get stuck, slow down, and I have hit people through it, but it does, not
but it's so hard, right? Yeah, because it stops the projectile. Hold on, burn, dive on Infernus, but Infernus going way too deep. The bleed, he's ticking, he's incredibly low. The life still just barely keeping him alive, but Gibbs is going to get that chase down. And Jitizim biting off a little bit more than he could chew there. Didn't expect this many players from Bunny with Clock to be around the mid lane. It might yield a free urn, but in no earnings, they've been a little bit inconsistent about pressuring the urn, and now they're not able to pick it up here. It's starting to walk back towards the fight. Matt pops Shadow Storm. Big ulti now from Gibbs, finds 2. Abrams still gets that big slam off and puts some more damage down. A rallying charge as well as his pin, stunning up some of these players, but Matt is still full HP on this Yamato. Abrams starting to get low. 8 stacks from the Mirage. He's going to pop from this one. Super low HP. Tanner finds the execute. And now, elsewhere in the fight, Ivy trying to get what kills that he can. Cool Cheese does go down. Are they going to be able to deal with the Viscus, though, in the side lane?
Flash getting the urn while this is going on. Gibbs looking, finds it, gets the dunk. No earnings, down 2 here to 1 on kill so far. Jism back into the fight. A bit outgunned here. Lash, though, burning, gone. Can't get a little bit of damage out towards the end. So Infernus getting his pound of flesh and getting out successfully.
Is he, though? Where is he? Did he juke
I think
them?
so.
I think they're still chasing him. They're looking for him.
no.
Yeah, okay. Big, heavy melee. A little bit of a gamble from Tanner, but just expected. Hey, look, you're not canceling that flame dash. And Shiv, ooh, the bloodbending. I think he's okay. It's actually quite close, man. If he doesn't get that kill with the heavy melee, he probably dies from that.
That was on knife's edge. Of course, while this is going on, I think the thing that's a little bit worrying for no earnings, it's kind of interesting. They're up one Walker outright, which is the good part. The downside is that this 10k lead could very easily snowball out of control with 3 Walkers down at half HP. That means if Bunny with Clock is able to get another good skirmish, they could conceivably get all of them down within that period of advantage, which would just instantly put the lead to something that may be insurmountable. So no earnings, if they give up even one more fight, it could be on the path to the end here. So they have to play this next moment really carefully. As Bunny with Clock, they're spending a lot of time in no earnings territory.
Yeah, they're able to hijack a lot of those jungle camps away. Arctic also has the Ricochet, so has gone quite aggressive in terms of the item build here. He hasn't even gotten the green spike and is going to be another major damage dealer in these fights. So they're kind of trying to deal with it. I like the builds for Infernus, right? You can't tank Infernus. You have to just kill him and stop his damage from coming out. But I think the builds they've gone for really represent that fact. Like, they're all offering a ton of burst damage. So Jatism's going to need a lot of support from the team to be able to stay alive and actually get those burns felt through the fight.
Blur was just surrounded by enemies on all ends, but you know, things perhaps get a little bit hot and heavy here on the left side. Yeah, you got Mirage and Yamato taking the fight here to Walker as the charge comes in middle. Matt's able to take down Jitizim. As off in the middle, Tanner gets quite low from the attack from Blur. Still, left-hand side is getting a little bit wild as they even get G-Freak down as this is going on.
Oh, what a cue from Aiden. Saves the day, shows up, and is now turning the tables on Abrams. Rallying charge a little bit too late. Didn't expect that level of DPS coming in. And now here comes the chase. Ivy, beautiful pickup on the page. Saves both of their lives. Would have almost certainly been a team wipe here for Bunny with Clock with the way Aiden the Destroyer was just running them down. Opportunity for a mid-boss, but maybe not with these low spawn timers.
The spawn timers were just a little bit average. It was even 5 seconds longer they may have gone for it, which, you know, kind of a consequence of the recent spawn timer change that hit right the mini patch before the big patch. I think we actually just saw a consequence of it right there.
Aiden, happy though, getting back to the farm. He's just been alone on this right side of the map. He doesn't have a walker there, but I mean, that's the power of the carry Viscous. He's able to play in these parts of the map where he's taking a big risk for being there, but just has the escape to survive. Abrams interrupting a kill attempt on Page. This may have been ill-advised. The slowing hex doesn't seem to do much. The lash, he still makes it up out of there. Matt, big ulti, high impact, huge ulti though from Gibbs, a better death slam. Drops 2 onto the floor. Jatism is just gone, evaporated in Furnace. Not able to do anything in the fight. Matt baits the engage and picks up an 8 streak.
That may have been the game. You lose 4 people there. You've set up Bunny with Clock not only for a mid-boss, but an earn dunk and even walkers on top of it. Jake, they're going to claim everything perhaps off of this, and the lead is already at 25k before they've even hit some of the lane walker gold or turned in the earn. A disaster of a team fight for no earnings that really puts them on the back foot. I mean, we'll see if G-Freak wants to come on in and try and steal charge here. Honestly, at this point in the game, I wouldn't hate it, but also it's not very likely to work.
The zips are so bad. I do think, like, as bad as it is to give a full triple rejuve away, if you just come in 1v4, 1v5, at this level of play, this is not working. You're just going to throw good money after bad, and you're going to be giving all the rejuves plus a feed. I will say, hold on, speaking of a feed, Shiv, what are you doing here, bro? Is he pinned under the walker there? Was that a catch from Blur? There's no way out of this one. Surely, Shiv things? Release Shiv with 1v5 here, but not today, Tanner.
I would think they'd go back for that rejuve at some point. This isn't the first time we've seen teams delay the rejuve, but
there? Okay,
yeah, this is like next level delay where
it's getting crazy.
Anyone could go there at any point. I mean,
they actually forgot about it. There's no way, right?
Yeah, I don't know if this is forehead or like some sort of gigabrain. This is,
bro.
This is, guys.
I mean, I guess the thing is, for no earnings, you don't know. There could just be someone standing on it waiting. Oh my god, that's so greedy. Like, there was no one there, man. Like, a hero could have snuck up, you know, like an Ivy could grab it and fly out. Like, that's a
okay. Tanner dropping the raffle. They did not know.
Yeah,
They actually didn't know. They're like, wait.
That was way too risky. I mean, I understand somebody waiting on it, but leaving the pit with the rejuve. I mean, hey, teams in Dota have left the Aegis in the pit before. It has happened in pro play. So I believe anything.
Oh, I haven't even looked at chat yet. I'm expecting when that moment happens, when the rejuve has been there for too long on stream, I'm just going to see like 322s get dropped there. Be like, hey, what's going on? It's not the last time that's going to happen at some point, though. I guarantee you, we'll be like 3 years into the future and some pro team is, I don't know if you call that a C9 in Deadlock sense or what. Maybe
we had our Deadlock C9 the other week. We had the creeps finishing the game, man. So, you know, it's anything's possible in this game. I will say the funny thing about that is, you know, if you just started watching Deadlock, it's a very niche mechanic, but when you pick up that final rejuve charge, it resets the timer on the rejuve. So actually those 2 charges are going to last quite a bit longer. They delayed it by almost, I think, more than a minute.
It inadvertently worked out really well for them because no one realized. The other team didn't realize either.
Nice pressure on this Walker, and I don't think this is possible to defend here from no earnings. Although, hold on, Paige maybe sticking around a little bit too close. Here comes Lash over the top, big lift, grabs one, drops her to the floor, and you're super happy to grab that Paige kill. It's now just going to open not only this Walker, but the possibility for one at mid. Arctic TPing, looks like there's a fight in the mid lane as well. G-Freak doing everything he can to move his way out of this fight. Lash and Shiv are going to just stick around and finish off this Walker, but Bunny's Clock are just full court pressing everywhere on the map right now with no earnings, dropping low, so many players on death's door. This could be the end of the game, ZP. I mean, this is turning into kill after kill, no earnings, falling apart under the just withering pressure of Bunny with Clock.
They just don't have win conditions left. They are horrifically outstatted now by soul income. They still got 2 rejuves, and it's been the world's longest rejuve push because of just forgetting. It is the worst of all scenarios for no earnings, on top of the entire team being wiped now. So, yeah, they're going to lose Mid-Walker, they're going to lose Guardians, and when you look at their team comp, they do have a Paradox, but even if you get a swap at this point, the other team's up 50k, you're probably just going to die after the swap. And even if you don't, the rejuve is still up for half its duration still, just about, Jake. It's unreal.
And the Viscous is so potent at sieging these bases. They're just going to be happy enough to grab a set of mid Guardians. Matt is also taking some side Guardians. But he's all alone there. I think it would be very risky to stick around on this one. Has Colossus up. Oh, man, he's such a problem in these fights now. I mean, a couple of those fights, right? You've attempted to go on the Yamato, started things off with the Infernus, putting those burns down, but then it's just Lash coming in like a ton of bricks. Jatism just doesn't have the answer on Infernus. I wonder if he's built something like a counter spell yet at this point in the game, because it just feels like every time you go in, you're trying to fight the Yamato and the Shiv, and Lash just crushes you from the air.
Also, we saw it with the one earn contest, which was when things did start to go the other way. We didn't really talk about it last week, but I actually think Lash's value goes up a little bit in the new Urn, where you think about the old Urn, you really loved Doorman, you loved Kelvin, you loved Viscous for the delay. I mean, you still have Viscous right now because he's just good in all ways. But Lash, I think, is one of the few heroes that can actually chase down, intercept an Urn, and really change how the Urn is played if the other team has it. Now, in this case, he's just transporting the Urn, but I do think, you know, Lash's theoretical utility has gone up a bit with how the game is played
50k advantage. No earnings. Okay, they just give up the Urn, but they may have been in the worst of both worlds. Baiting the initiation, but here comes a huge hit from Gibbs. 3 picked up, 3 dropped down, and that's game DP. No earnings, just cut to pieces by Gibbs. Ivy trying to get back into the base, right out of the stone farm. Comes the lasso from the Holiday. Matt just laying in the damage. Still has refresher on this Yamato, still not even close to out of gas. Jatism just doing what he can, putting some burns on, but now just has to get back into the base to survive. But Bunny with Clock, 30k soul advantage, every player alive. This one is done and dusted, ZP. They're going to that money match.
Bunny with Clock showing it doesn't matter who the opponent is, they can get into the money match. Of course, you know, they lost to Floormen the last 2 weeks, but...
Wait, Jatism's going for it? Okay, no way, right? Okay. That's
a bit wild. They're going to get the Shrine here and at least first stage patron, but you're up 70k. Just stick around, complete the Hidden King's will, and get yourself in the money match.
I mean, they might heal, I would say. I think it's not crazy to go back and heal one time just for security, right? Like, if you try to end here and you end up throwing the fight, it actually will just prolong the game drastically. But if you just reset, wait for, you know, like Lash ulti again, that's part of the problem, right? Is like, there's nothing for Lash ulti in this game. I mean, people could build counterspell, but that's not really an answer. You know, it's like it keeps 1 or 2 players alive. Jatisma has it. You know, Braden has it too, but it's like that. If that's just for the lash ult, it's you're not in a great spot, right? You don't. I mean, you have knockdown on Paige. That's kind of the one thing. Fight started now in the mid lane. No Earnings just taking anything they can get, trying to find an attach into this fight. They do have Kulchi's super low, but Matt has popped that Shadow Transform in the center of the fight. Jatism doing what he can to put these burns down, keeping some people healthy, but the stat check is just way too real. Aiden cutting them to pieces. He gets one look at you, and he just eats you alive. Paige, not long for this world.
It's not even just that. It's also, at this point, Matt and Tanner can run at you and almost 2v6 your team. And that's before considering the just hellacious stream of goo that Aiden is throwing your way. Jitizim, as mentioned, I mean, reasonable job of stacking birds mid-fight, but absolutely cut down towards the end. Second stage of the Archmother is about to get blown up. Bunny with Clock back in the saddle. They're going to get their matchup versus melee creeps in the money match right after this.
Bunny with Clock. I mean, a well-deserved victory. I will say for No Earnings, right? Still having some good moments in the game, right? Still having been able to compete in the laning phase. I mean, we've seen a lot of games in Night Shift where some newcomers have just had a laning phase blowout and it feels like they don't even get to play Deadlock. I don't think this was that extreme, but I will say once we started getting into that objective play portion of the game, you know, looking for those bigger team fights, it felt like Bunny with Clock just had the download. I mean, Gibbs with so many decisive lash ults, like when those lash ults go off, the fight's over every single time. I think 3 or 4 fights where Gibbs essentially just crushes the game on his own, and the team is completely ready for that, right? Matt and Tanner baiting the engages, frontlining, making an aggressive move, and the follow-up is just always there. So the difference in coordination, the difference in experience here really being felt. And No Earnings, their first showing here in the Night Shift, so hats off to them for turning up and playing for the fans. But today, it's going to be Bunny with Clock going up against melee creeps there in that money match.
And as far as first showings go in Night Shift, I think rarely, maybe not ever, I'm not sure if a team has come into the challenging match their first time around and actually got into the money match versus was usually the number 2 team in the region. But this was a pretty darn good showing from No Earnings. They kept this game pretty close for the early to mid before eventually Bunny with Clock, they were able to get the Earn intercept. They were able to get what was a really good fight leading into mid, but this was not a stomp. This was not what happens sometimes where you have a really strong team versus weak team and it's 20 minutes and done. No Earnings showed some real potential at points in this game. It just didn't all pan together, and once they fell behind, they just didn't really have a way back in.
Yeah, it felt like the draft, not only just the heroes you had, but just the way they executed them for Bunny with Clock. I feel like they had a really clean idea of exactly how the team fights were to take place. I mean, Arctic, Tanner, and Matt did a great job of baiting and starting these initiations, and the follow-up is just always behind them, to the point where for No Earnings, it's just like, how do you even play into this fight, right? There's a Yamato running at you, and you know, you can try to burn her with Infernus, you try and start the fight that way, but as soon as you do that, right, the punish is there. And then not only that, but there's saves on this team too, right? You have Aiden being able to cube somebody, and I think that's partly why, if we're going to look back in the draft here, I feel like going for the Warden over the Viscous was a big mistake, actually, for No Earnings. I think they needed the Viscous to be able to actually tango and challenge into heroes like Yamato and Shiv without the possibility of just getting like instantly deleted by a lash out. At least Viscous can cube himself and maybe ball out of a scenario like that.
Well, all in all, you know, take a look at the score screen where we got the new fancy score screen now here, Jake. You know, things just get better patch after patch. We're going to add some of the enhancements we had to the score screen back in at some point. But, you know, for now, the default score screen, it's been upgraded. And you take a look here. What stands out to you, Jake?
I mean, I don't want to be too harsh on the No Earnings players. Like, they got blown out here. This is a beatdown of a game, so I wouldn't worry too much about anyone's individual stats. Aiden going deathless is, I think, a great sign though for the team. I mean, that's exactly what you want in a game that's going to be this good for you. A deathless carry is just, that's really the goal. I mean, other players taking deaths can easily be worth it, right? Getting in the mix, taking some fights, getting some trades off. It's not the end of the world for the rest of the team, but having Aiden be deathless and be, you know, dominating on the objective damage front is exactly what you want to see in a game like this for carry.
And as I look at it here, you know, the other thing of note here too, we didn't talk too much about some of the item buying trends, but, you know, the one item that's in a much better spot now in the sense that not everyone is buying it. In fact, as I look here, I just see one bot throughout the entire game, Cultist. No longer is everyone in the cult, Jake. I think before the recent creep change, we were in the mode where half the lobby, if not more, I mean, we saw as many as like 9 cultists in a game, and we're not doing that anymore. So that has changed, and I kind of feel like the item balance has never been a bit better. Even K-Dash, like you still see a lot of it here, but even the small nerf that came in, I feel like we saw a little bit less K-Dash here today. So item variety feels like it's in a better spot. I guess the one trouble point here is that stamina mastery is just kind of getting bought by everyone, and the usage rate is going up because, why wouldn't it? The item is actually just really strong, especially as everyone has been using more of the instant air dash tech.
Yeah, game definitely in a great spot as far as the item balance goes. I think you know, you can always complain around the edges and find the little issues here and there of an item being a little bit better than another, but I feel like this is a great moment for the Deadlock history in terms of the freedom you have on a lot of characters to go for different builds and approach things in different ways. I feel like none of this is solved. Like you look at some of the builds, like for Matt's build this game, very, very different than some of the Yamato builds we saw in EU. So a lot of room for innovation, even at the highest level of the game, is a great sign for Deadlock.
Well, we got to talk about our MVP on the Hidden King side for Bunny with Clock. And it's the one, the only. It's Gibbs on the lash. And Jake, you just got to give it to Gibbs. The intercepts that we had, especially in some of the key plays of the game, Gibbs had himself a really good lash game. Multiple good ults that changed the tide of battle. Also just pretty good play in the neutral and getting good damage in off ground strike, whether it be from the early laning phase to the latter parts. But you see plays like here where at this point in the game, it was pretty close to even, but Gibbs, right place, right time, was able to put Blur into a bad spot, was able to get the earn, and was a key reason as to why this game went out of control for Bunny with Clock.
Yeah, just so many back-breaking ult fights, really, from the Lash. And, you could look at a lot of the team here for Bunny with Clock and think, okay, Aiden, crushed the game, Deathless super farmed, Matt and Tanner having a bunch of big fights and playing, like, a really aggressive tempo style. But in the end, I think the Lash is actually kind of the difference maker in these decisive fights. Like, when the game is actually won and lost is really the Lash ults in this game.
I will say, you see it in the highlights here from the no earnings end. Blur had one hell of a game, especially until things went out of hand. Right place, right time on the Abrams, multiple key pickoffs. There's one fight in the middle too where you look at it and go, wait, that's a two-man charge. Wait, Blur just killed two. It didn't work out in the end, but no earnings. They had some key star plays there, even in defeat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a team that I want to see some of these players, keep pushing, keep trying to find those looks, right? And yeah, I feel like it can be disheartening to take a tough L in your first appearance, but we did have those moments, right? Especially one of the things I look at is if you're competing in the smaller numbers fights, because that's where, from the perspective of somebody playing ranked and like the way they learn the game, if you're competing with the top players in like the laning phase and things are very close, I will say, like, being able to compete in a full team fight against a team that's been playing together for months and months and super well practiced in terms of how they approach them, how they itemize, how they work together, like they're just well drilled as a unit, is so much to ask for. But as long as you're competitive in the lanes, it's like your mechanics are there, your fundamentals are there, you can compete on that level. It's just a question of being able to get there as a full team. So that's the thing that takes patience. It takes time to build that synergy in a game as complicated as Deadlock. I mean, I feel like this game has some of the craziest team fights of any game I've ever seen. And so no shade to the no earnings guys. I definitely want to see more from these players and see if they can continue to build up their skills over time.
All right. Well, Bunny with Clock, they've made it to the money match yet again. Is this going to be the week that melee creeps fall, or do they show that they are still the ones to beat in North America? Coming up next, it is the North American money match here on Deadlock Night Shift.